Okay, today we're gonna learn about how the seat logging works in real world applications like BookMyshow, District, or any ticket application, right? Any flight application or etc. So what happens is, let's say you want to book a ticket for the show, right? And someone else from anywhere else also wants to book the same ticket. So what happens is, user one and user two both click on the book now, and because of they both see that the seat is available, so they both click on the book now. Because the server also knows that the both seat is not booked, it is available. So what it does, they both it reaches the server, and server checks the database, and database sees that the seat is available, so they server processes the request, right? And because of this, what happens is they both try to complete that. Let's say here this happens, right? User one clicks on the book now, so server hits the database checks the seat, it is available, it responds to the server, and server now tells the user one that he can book the ticket and complete the payment. It is the same for user two, right? User two also sees that the ticket is available, so it hits the server, its server checks that it is available, and it seat is available, so it can you can process to the user. It says to the user that you can process to the next part, which is the payment part, right? So now what happens is the user one, user two both try to complete the payment for it, right? Because they both are trying to complete the payment for that uh, ticket, right? So that at the same time they are trying the payment at the same time. So what happens is user one completes. Let's say in example, user one completes the payment, and now user one completes the payment, and user two is in the waiting to complete the payment. He has already transferred the money, but it is not completed yet, right? So after some time it gets completed. So both users sees that the ticket have been and payment have been completed, and the ticket has been booked. Now server in the server, it is a quite horrible work, right? I mean, it is so much worse. I mean, it's only one ticket, but there is only one ticket, but there has been two bookings for that same ticket, right? So now on the day when the show is happening, so what happens is, so what happens, like the both comes onto the theater and see that they both have the same ticket for the same seat. So it is a quite horrible thing. Like it, so anything happens, but in the simultaneously case that what should not be happen is the same two booking should not be happen for the one seat, right? So it should not happen. So here where the Redis comes into the picture, what is the issue? Like how we can check that the seat is available or not? So what we introduce here is the locking system. So before the seat is booked, what we can do is user one lock the seat, and after the payment is completed, the lock release. So what we do is we introduce another thing here. We introduce lock here. We, we introduce here lock. In locking mechanism, what we're gonna do is user one will first lock the seat. The server, what happens is server, it goes to the request, goes to the server, and server will lock that seat for, let's say in example, 5 minutes. After the 5 minute completes if the user one completes the transaction, then it is fully booked. And if the transaction is not completed in that specific time, let's say a 5 minutes, the seat becomes available again, right? So this is what happens in the real world scenarios in BookMyshow, District, etc. Here is the full user diagram. So what happens is, let's say the user here clicks on A7, right? Here it clicks on A7, it gets seat gets locked, and 5 minutes later, if the payment is completed, then user one will have the seat, and if the transaction is not completed in that 5 minutes, then the seat becomes available again. So here, like it becomes the case, right, where we should store the data, like where we should store the data, whether the seat is locked or not. I mean, you can say that let's just not store this data into the database, but it does not work like that in a real world system, because the database is very distributed system, and it does not we cannot do that fast of the update and not, and it is just temporary data. So what we can do, so here comes the Redis in the picture. So here where the Redis comes into the picture. So Redis is a distributed database system which stores the data temporarily in the RAM. So because of this, what happens is user one try to book the ticket, it goes into the backend, so they can try to lock that seat, right? Backend is trying to lock that seat, and because the locking happens in the Redis, so in Redis what we store is the seat A7 is locked by user one. So we store that the seat A7 is locked by user one, and now user two comes for to check this thing, right? He comes into the store and see that the user one has already locked that seat. So now user two will not be able to book that seat. You will see that it is in the locking state. It is not booked yet. And after some time, if the user one has not completed the payment successfully, then it becomes available again. So this is how the real-time work system works. How this is how the Redis lock system works. The seat reservation and Redis lock system, here how this is. And you do not need to like here the Redis becomes so much important because why we only need the temporary storage for our data, right? We do not care about that. We do not want to store the data. We just want to store the data for the temporary time. So that is why here Redis is